Welcome back to Night Shift Horror Stories channel, where we explore the darkest corners of the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because tonight, we're counting down the 10 most haunted places in America. From restless spirits to chilling ghost sightings, these locations are guaranteed to send shivers down your spine. Let's get into it, if you dare. America is known for its rich history, but hidden within its cities and countrysides are places tainted by death, tragedy, and the supernatural. From haunted asylums echoing with the cries of the insane, to cursed mansions where shadows move on their own. These places are not just stories, they are real. Tonight, we dive deep into the 10 most haunted places in America. Places where the line between the living and the dead is terrifyingly thin. Are you brave enough to enter? Starting off our list is the Whaley House in San Diego, California, often called the most haunted house in America. When you think of San Diego, you picture gorgeous beaches, beautiful weather, and cultural and artistic attractions. But for those who have an affinity for the paranormal, San Diego beckons investigation, with its rich and dark past, haunted spots, spiritual encounters, and inexplicable events. The most haunted of all San Diego places is without a doubt the Whaley House. While the story of the Whaley House's origins may seem as simple and innocent as any family history, the truth is, many believed this home was destined to be haunted before it was even built. The property was built on the site of a former execution ground and the site of one of the town's most famous public executions, that of the infamous thief Yankee Jim Robinson. Visitors report hearing footsteps echoing through empty halls, the laughter of children, and even seeing the ghost of Thomas Whaley himself, standing at the top of the stairs. Would you dare to visit this haunted mansion? Number 9 on our list is Eastern State Penitentiary, a decaying prison known for its brutal history of solitary confinement and torture. Eastern State Penitentiary first opened its doors in 1829. The prison was designed to hold 253 prisoners, each occupying a solitary confinement cell for their entire sentence. The harshest punishment, solitary confinement, was meant to help criminals find penance, remorse, and salvation. In reality, it drove many prisoners insane. This place housed some of America's most notorious criminals, including Alphonse "Scarface" Capone, Chicago's most famous mob boss, where he spent 8 months at Eastern State in 1929 to 1930. Many claims of hauntings at Eastern State Penitentiary stem from some of the punishments and harsh realities faced by inmates in the prison's solitary system. It's often said that the levels of isolation prisoners faced, up to 23 hours a day or more, drove them insane rather than reform them. That, coupled with cruel, torturous punishments, resulted in unmatched misery that some visitors say is still palpable. Some of the punishments included an ice bath, after which prisoners would be chained to an exterior wall until the moisture turned to ice on their skin, and the mad chair, a restraining chair that was regularly strapped so tightly prisoners lost feeling and circulation to their limbs. Visitors claim to hear eerie whispers, ghostly footsteps, and even see shadowy apparitions lurking in the cell blocks. Could the tormented souls of prisoners still be trapped within these crumbling walls? Down in Louisiana lies the Myrtles Plantation, a place so haunted it's known as one of America's most ghostly residences. General David Bradford built the Myrtles Plantation in 1796, but he only lived there for a few years before fleeing to Louisiana to escape arrest for his role in the Whiskey Rebellion. The property was then sold to Ruffin Gray, who died in 1817, leaving the plantation to his wife Mary Catherine Cobb and their 3 children. But after her death in 1834, the plantation was sold several times before being purchased by Judge Clark Woodruff and his wife, Sarah, in 1857. The most popular ghost story in the Myrtles Plantation was that of Chloe, who is said to have been mistreated by Judge Woodruff. In an effort to get back at him, she supposedly poisoned his wife and 2 of their children with oleander leaves. Chloe was then hanged by the other slaves on the plantation, either to punish or to keep from being punished themselves by the Woodruffs for helping her. In addition to the story of Chloe, there have been numerous other ghost sightings reported at the Myrtles plantation. Some guests have reported seeing a ghostly figure of a woman on the balcony, while others claim to have seen ghostly children playing in the yard. There have also been reports of unexplained footsteps and doors opening and closing on their own. Next, we travel to West Virginia, where the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum stands frozen in time. This asylum has a haunting past that draws many paranormal investigators. When the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum opened in 1864, it was meant to house a maximum of 250 patients, all of whom were to be treated in a humane and moral way. While the asylum kept up the facade of moral treatment, conditions rapidly deteriorated, and patients were treated with anything but humanity. By the 1950s, the asylum was home to almost 2,400 unwanted, abandoned souls. Strangely, the asylum offered money to anyone who dropped off a patient, many of whom showed no signs of mental illness when they were first committed. But conditions in the overcrowded, understaffed building, full of the mistreated mentally ill, would make even the most sane of souls lose their minds. Sadistic, experimental medical procedures were often performed on patients, and anyone who complained or acted out was subjected to solitary confinement, chained to the walls of an empty room for months on end. Once home to thousands of mentally ill patients, this asylum witnessed countless tragedies, including deaths from neglect and abuse. Visitors report hearing blood-curdling screams, seeing shadowy figures darting down hallways, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. Tucked away near the entrance of Rocky Mountain National Park, just 70 miles from bustling downtown Denver, Colorado, sits one of the country's most notoriously haunted destinations, as well as the famed inspiration for Stephen King's acclaimed horror novel, The Shining, the Stanley Hotel. Completed in 1909 as an elite, 420-room retreat by entrepreneur and inventor F.O. Stanley, co-founder of the Stanley Motor Carriage Co. This historic 140-room colonial revival hotel in Estes Park is one of the oldest hotels still standing in Colorado, and has been treating its guests to luxurious amenities, gorgeous mountain views, and a plethora of frightening folklore since it first opened its door on July 4th, 1909. In the fall of 1974, writer Stephen King and his wife stopped for the night at an old hotel overlooking the city. Once among the grandes dames of the West, the Stanley had fallen on hard times and was a ghost of its former Edwardian-era self. Upon arriving, the Kings learned the hotel was closing for the winter, and only a skeleton crew remained. Nonetheless, the couple was checked into room 217, the presidential suite, as the only paying guests. That night, the author had a nightmare in which he saw his young son being chased down the hotel's long, empty corridors by a predatory, possessed fire hose. He woke drenched in sweat and stepped to the balcony to smoke a cigarette. By the time he stubbed it out, he'd worked out the bones of what would become his third novel, and first bestseller, The Shining. Some psychics even claim that the hotel is a vortex or a paranormal portal. Psychics, guests, and workers claim to have seen ghosts near the staircase, and many believe this is why the hotel is so haunted. Are you enjoying the countdown so far? Which haunted place would you visit, or avoid at all costs? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for part 2 of this episode.